just end up blowing your damn face off. Then you'll still be depressed. Even more depressed, probably, because of your fucked up face. Welcome to the Pixelpop Movie Podcast. I am your host this fortnight, Toby. With me this fortnight, I'm joined by the was there for part 1 and 2, kind of vanished for the sequels, but came back in part 5, Ethan.
Sounds like me in every aspect.
And the whatever happened to that character, Lucas.
That sounds like me. Easily forgettable until I show up again and they're like, oh yeah, he was in it.
Yeah, right? So, our topic of conversation for this fortnight is something a little different, I hope, and that is sequel retcon. It's something we've seen a bit more of recently, but believe it or not, it's been around for a little while, and that's where a sequel comes out, typically by the original creator, and it kind of ignores some of the sequels that came before it. It's an interesting subject, we thought. Anyway, we're going to talk about it. We've also got an absolute bucket load of trailers that came out in the last fortnight, like a lot, which is good because the news was probably a little bit flat, but so many trailers. We've got some spoiler-free movie reviews of things that we've caught up with recently, and I've also got the results of the poll we put up on our Facebook page in regards to, rebooting 80s classics. We sort of threw it out to the readers. We had a pretty good response, so we'll sort of quickly touch on those results as well. But before we dive into any of that stuff, we better get a start on with this news and trailers. Please take us away, Ethan.
First bit of news you got is Chris Evans is apparently up for a role in Little Shop of Horrors remake, or reboot, or one of those ones.
Yeah, I wonder if we're going to get a cameo from
Steve Martin.
Rick Moranis?
Rick Moranis. Now he's sort of kind of out of
I
retirement.
doubt it. I don't reckon he would.
Have they said who Chris Evans is in line to play?
Yeah, the
lead, I guess.
The doctor or some shit. Well, it's played by Steve Martin, the other one.
I don't remember
That's
Steve
like
Martin, but yeah, I mean, it's been a long time since I watched it, to be frank.
I don't know, there's a picture of Steve Martin in the article, so I thought it might have been that. Yeah, Steve Martin's in the 1986 movie. He's the dentist or something.
Yeah, I was about to say, wasn't he the dentist?
Yeah. And next, we have the Uncharted movie has found its director, and that is Ruben Fleischer, who did Venom and Zombieland 1 and 2. He is now on board to direct. They're gearing up to actually start pretty soon.
Yeah, you guys should be happy with that.
Has been cast. Yeah, but it's got Mark Wahlberg in it, so not really.
Sure, but apart from Marky Mark, that's a pretty strong director at Get, and, Antonio Banderas
Tom Holland.
Yeah, and Antonio Banderas isn't exactly a chump actor either. I imagine, is he going to play the antagonist, or?
I feel like probably, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
he's going to be, but I feel like, yeah, the antagonist seems like who he would be.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then a couple other people have been cast in minor roles.
Yeah, it sounds like it's finally getting, the cogs are turning on it.
Yeah, it was supposed to start filming in within I think probably by the start of next month it should start filming.
Yeah.
So yeah. First on our list of trailers is a new trailer for Artemis Fowl from Disney.
Yep.
I didn't actually watch this.
Oh, so I don't know a whole lot about it. I obviously know it's based off a series of books and stuff, but this trailer was getting eaten alive on Reddit.
Yeah, what for?
So it dramatically changes. So again, I don't know a whole lot about it, but the trailer and the film sounds like it dramatically changes the story. Artemis Fowl sounds like was basically like the antagonist in the first book. He was not a good guy or a good kid, and that his arc through the book is that he grows into becoming a hero or something like that. But the movie sounds like it's changing it to make it look like he's just misunderstood, and that his dad is the source of his problems, and that's how they do it. Where in the books he was like a bully, or he was just a shit of a kid. So
right.
They've kind of changed the main character's motivational arc, which then in turn kind of changes the whole film from the source material, and just a lot of people were pissed off about it. So, it's going to be interesting to kind of see what the result is when it comes out. This movie has been in production hell for a long time. So, the fact that that's another kind of thing that kind of goes into that camp of this movie's taken so long to get made, and guess what? They're not making it right. It kind of gets you worried for stuff like Uncharted and other stuff that's kind of set in production hell for a long time, because you just want to see it done right. And then just from one trailer, it sounds like it's been done very wrong, and a lot of people aren't happy about it.
Fair enough.
And also, it's the official trailer that Disney released. It has 9.7k likes and 13k dislikes.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's already
alright.
it's getting a negative reaction on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
I was.
It's
I saw
okay,
the-
guys. They'll just CG a different Sonic and it'll be fun.
I mean, the movie's been delayed a whole year. It was supposed to come out in May last year. And they got
Yeah, but
delayed till
before-
May.
Yeah.
Before that, I think it took them 8 years to even get it to pre-production.
Yeah, something like that.
It's an insane amount of time.
And next we have a trailer for Candyman
Candyman.
This looks
Candyman.
coming out in June.
This looks
Yeah.
so cool.
This is definitely going to make me want to go back and watch at least the original, but probably
I've
the
never
original
seen
films.
any of them before.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to tell you to watch them because you'll tell me to get fucked. But, they're not the greatest horror films I've ever seen, but they were definitely watchable. I would say that. They had some good beats. So, it's been, 10, 15 years, I think, since I watched them. So, before this hits, and I wouldn't hit, again, I don't do horror at the cinema. Before this gets a home release, I'll definitely be watching the earlier ones. And I imagine wherever this does settle, they'll probably acquire the earlier ones as well. That seems to be part of the course. So,
Well, apparently it's a direct sequel to the first one.
It is.
I think it
Yeah.
ignores the others.
well, there you go. There you go. Because we can just put
it's
that on
fine.
our
Yeah,
list
yeah.
of, sequel retcons. There we go. There's another one.
Next we have a trailer for Rumble, which I'm pretty excited for. New anime movie by Paramount Pictures about kaijus, pretty much like wrestling.
Yep. Let's get
Kaijus
ready to
and humans
rumble.
live side by side, and they wrestle. It looks pretty cool. Terry Crews is the voice of one of the. Looks like he's the top kaiju, and I think Will Arnett voices the other one.
Yeah.
That looks pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't they announced too that Roman Reigns and Becky Lynch from the WWE are also going to be doing voices.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. But nothing in this trailer got me hyped.
To me, it's just giant monsters fighting. That's enough to just get me hyped, really.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all good for kaiju-y stuff, but I don't know. There's just something about this that kind of I didn't really get into.
I'm actually going to talk about another one that we didn't put in yet. It came out just the other day. A new anime movie from Sony Pictures called Connected. About it's another one produced by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller.
Yep.
Danny McBride is the voice of the dad. Yeah, it looks really cool, and it's another unique sort of art style as well. Which
Yeah.
Sony should be pumping out with their anime movies, which is great.
So I'm pretty sure it was done by the same studio that actually did Into the Spider-Verse.
Well, I'm not sure. It doesn't have the animation studio on here, but it's Phil Lord, Christopher Miller, and Sony is releasing it. So.
'Cause in the trailer, they show you the Spider-Verse logo.
Oh yeah, it's Sony Pictures
as-
Animation, so yeah, it is.
Yeah, but they're from the studio that brought you this. But I'm pretty sure it's the same animation studio because there's certain things that they've animated in the movie that look very much like Spider-Verse. But what's really cool about this movie, right? So I watched the trailer for it, and I'm like, oh yeah, cool. This looks like just family looking to kind of ditch their phones and stuff. And then something happens in the trailer that the whole film just takes a complete 180.
Oh
And
yeah,
I
it
got-
does.
And
yeah.
the back end of that trailer, I was hooked. So that looks like it's gonna be a really cool movie. Don't want to ruin it for anyone who hasn't seen the trailer yet, but it's something I would definitely recommend sourcing out and trying to give it
that looks really
a
good.
watch.
Next we have a trailer for Quiet Place Part 2,
Lives Next to the Waterfall.
which is out next week or the week after, I think. It's really close.
So this is cinema release, yeah?
Yeah. March 19th, so not too far away. Trailer for Blood Ride.
Yes.
What's this? Who posted this?
I did. This is coming to Netflix. It's in. It's not in English. I don't remember where it's from. Whether it's Scandinavian, Norwegian, German. It's. I don't recall. So forgive me. It looks like It's a series. It's a TV series. It's horror, and then it sort of looks like one of those things where it's separate stories, but they're kind of all interlinked. So the spiel is: a silent driver takes his doomed passengers towards an unknown destination. See their stories in this thrilling new horror anthology. Take your seat for Blood Ride, streaming on Friday the 13th of March. So you can watch it this Friday. I watched the trailer
It's
and
Norway.
Norwegian. Yeah, it looked okay. There's a lot of that sort of international stuff that's doing quite well and getting attention. And yeah, I saw the trailer. It's Netflix, so it's like you're gonna have to pay extra for it. And it looked alright. Yeah. So I put it there. Yeah.
Trailer for Little Fires Everywhere.
Yep, on Hulu. So
That's
we
it.
don't get Hulu here, but it's obviously you may be able to find it through other means. It may even come to Foxtel. It's got what's her face from Legally Blonde.
Yeah,
But
Reese
it's-
Witherspoon.
Yeah, but it's more of a serious thing rather than a comedy. She helps like a woman who's not homeless but sort of downtrodden move into a place, and they sort of form a relationship, and obviously she's quite wealthy, she's a realtor, and then she sort of finds out some interesting tidbits about this woman who she sort of let into her life, and maybe have falsified her background, and it's like, ooh, Insidious, who are you, and is that really her son, and blah blah blah. So it's like a thriller. Yeah, it looked kind of interesting.
Actually, it might come to Netflix, because there was another horror movie that Hulu put out, but Netflix had international for it. It had Armie Hammer in it and Zazie Beetz in it. I can't remember what it was called. But Netflix got the international rights to it. So this could still come to Netflix, maybe.
Yeah, it looked okay. Maybe not quite my cup of tea, but definitely something that a lot of people will watch.
Next we have Tales from the Loop trailer.
Yep, this is coming to Prime Video. Again, this looks like it's Norwegian/Scandinavian, just by the names. I didn't catch exactly. Science fiction, kind of got a Black Mirror feeling, but without the sad endings. It's a collection of short stories sort of set in, I think, near future. And so there's some neat special effects. Yeah, it's very science fiction-y, but again, it's coming to us from a sort of a non-American, non-English sort of mindset. So yeah, it looked kind of cool and interesting. We've all got Amazon, so yeah, why not? Yeah. Check it out.
Trailer for The Secret Garden.
Yep, this is like the 6th time this book has been made into a film, but this time we've got Colin Firth, I think it is, and a few other, apart from the lead actress, there's a few other it's her first role. There's a few other names in there as well, and it looks pretty good actually. It's got some, the versions I don't recall there being it quite so magical. Then it's been a long time since I read the book, but yeah, this is just going to be one of those real feel good kind of Mary Poppins take the family to cinema films.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I've never heard of it before.
Oh, it's been around. The book came out like 100 years ago or something.
So there's no surprise there, though. So.
Yeah. I think I grew up with the BBC adaptation on ABC when I was a kid. Like, it's been around forever and a day. Anyway,
trailer for Antebellum, a new sort of sci-fi horror thriller starring Janelle Monáe, which looks pretty interesting.
Is it you talking about Antebellum?
Yeah.
Yeah, this looks really cool.
Basically, she's a seems to be like a black rights advocate, and she is teleported back in time, one way or another, to the time of slavery.
Errors.
Yeah, and she's sort of putting her, I guess, her preaching into action, and she's sort of trying to lead a rebellion and change history and free her people. So it's going to be political, and that's fine, but it's probably going to suffer from some trolling, unfortunately. But it looks like it's going to be a powerful and interesting film, as long as it's done tastefully. That's the main thing. But yeah, it could be good. It looks interesting. It certainly looks... The acting looks pretty powerful, so... maybe the modern day Roots. Who knows?
Yeah. I'll just read the thing here. Successful author Veronica Henley finds herself trapped in a nightmarish reality and must find a way to break free from the horrors at hand. So that's kind of all they've really given out officially.
Yeah, but you could deduce from the trailer. Yeah, if she hasn't gone back in time, then at least she's gone into a parallel. But it's clear that she's on a plantation and she's trying to free everybody and sort of lead an uprising. Yeah, looks cool.
Yeah. They kind of give you like hints through the trailer, but yeah. I just saw too. Jack Houston's in it too. So Kirstie Clemens, who was supposed to be in Justice League, as Iris West.
Yep.
Cool.
Next trailer for Greyhound, starring Tom Hanks, a World War II movie, is it? I think.
Yeah, I believe so. Because it's all the German U-boats.
Yeah, in the early days of World War II, an international convoy of 37 Allied ships led by Captain Ernest Krauss, Tom Hanks, and his first command of a US destroyer, crosses the treacherous North Atlantic while hotly pursued by wolf packs of Nazi U-boats. So for those who like war movies and stuff like that,
yeah, I do. Watch? I mean, this is the thing. Because obviously I've watched Dust Boot and others. Like, the Germans dominated the shit out of the water for most of World War II. The amount of metal they sunk is just absolutely staggering. I mean, I doubt anybody in the human future will ever sink that much metal. So it's going to be kind of interesting. I'd be I'm interested to see how much American hyperbole is sort of put into this, and how accurate it keeps to real events. But I mean, look, Hanks is such a fantastic actor, and definitely keen to see this.
And our last trailer was one that I spotted called The Platform. It's a Spanish language film. It's essentially, the plot for it is the film is set in a large tower-style prison where the inmates are fed by the means of a platform that gradually descends the levels of the tower. It's pretty much whoever's at the top of the tower gets first pick of the food, and as it gets lower and lower down, there's less food, and those at the bottom have to pretty much get scratched whatever's left.
Definitely had a cube feel to it without it being traps and stuff, but it had that kind of, why are we in here?
As well.
Snowpiercer as well. Yeah, exactly. Yep. I don't mind those films.
That's out real soon, I think. It had a premiere at Toronto International Film Festival last year, and so we'll probably it'll be on Netflix soon. So I'm keen for that.
Nice.
Next, in some weird bit of news, Pornhub is going to release their first ever non-adult film about black lesbian strip club culture.
Yeah. This actually made it to Variety, which is insane. But
I mean, not porn, but it's about black stripper culture. I mean, so there's still going to be plenty of boobs and bums, right? It's just not porn.
Probably, but it looks like they're going to be getting into like stuff that isn't porn, which is kind of interesting.
That's fine. I mean, Playboy did the same kind of thing, didn't they? At one point.
Yeah,
From memory?
I guess.
From memory.
Yeah, like they did. They did a lot of documentaries, but they were more like behind the scenes type stuff. Like, this is how we make a magazine, and this is how we do this, and it wasn't really anything about the history of sexual liberation or anything like that. Which sounds like this is what it's going to be. So.
Yeah.
But no, I thought this was super interesting because Pornhub making a documentary about like sex culture. It's just weird.
Well, look, it's quite possible that the original, production team, director, shot, or scriptwriter, whatever, whoever it was behind this, shopped it around. No one wanted to touch it, and that you got Pornhub said, "Yeah, look, here's some cash. Let's do it."
It's honestly more than likely that's what happened.
Yeah. Anyway,
again, very interesting.
Yeah. Next, Jerusalem's Lot, Stephen King's adaptation, cast Schitt's Creek, Emily Hampshire. I don't know what Jerusalem's Lot is.
One of King's older books. Vampires. That's all the spoilers you need, man.
Werewolves?
Nah, vampires in this one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Next, we have New Mutants is officially rated PG-13.
Put it in the bin.
And they've actually just finished it. The whole movie's done. Everything's locked. It's done, ready for April release date.
In the bin.
No. So apparently this got... I think we've talked about it previously, but this got rave reviews when Josh Boone took it back over and Disney let him finish it. So
we'll see. But I mean, considering how horrific it was sort of meant to be played up as, I'm...
It'll be like that. They're not putting the reshoots in. They're not doing anything.
PG-13 feels a bit dialed down. I don't know.
Nah, it can still be... You still have a horror movie without it being an R rated.
Well, I mean, as long as it translates to an MA-15 in Australia, I'd be fine with that.
Absolutely PG.
Nah. I don't want M-rated shit. I want MA, 15 plus. That's what we want over here. Yeah.
Next, we have some set photos from Loki.
Which we can't... Yeah, it could be potentially spoilers. I did when I linked it, I'm like, warning, danger, spoilers.
Yeah.
So, I'm not... Yeah, we probably shouldn't say what's in there, other than... Because it does change some of the hypotheses we've had, or potentially had, changes some of them. So... But yes, Owen Wilson's in there, definitely. Yeah. And that's cool.
As well as something else that we will not discuss, but the images are very easy to find online if you know where to look.
Yes, if you really want to go and spoil it for yourself, by all means, go ham. They're out there.
Next, Hocus Pocus has it's coming to Disney Plus. Actually, I didn't realize that. It's got its director, original cast may return as well.
I'm pretty sure they're doing it as a series, aren't they? Not like it's going to be Hocus Pocus 2, but it's going to be like something like Loki. Or like all the Disney Plus series that they're doing, like Mighty Ducks and etc. etc.
Not sure.
I don't know. I can't find where it says if it's a movie or a series, but it's got a director, and the original cast might be there. So for those interested, that's good.
Yeah.
Next, we have a first
Trying
look
to
at Tom Holland looking very creepy in his new film.
Yeah, didn't it look like he really looks different.
Well, yeah, isn't he like a drug abuser in this movie?
Obviously, it's just a single still, but yes, he looks very different to
Okay, yeah.
how you're used to seeing him.
An army medic with PTSD becomes addicted to opioids and starts robbing banks to pay for the addiction.
Yeah.
I was about to
Based
say.
Yeah, good on it.
based on
And
the
that's the
book,
thing,
yeah.
like, you know, these you know, actors, they're getting smart. Well, they've got to be smart because you got to dump that typecast. You got to dump it real soon. I mean, you know, I sort of think of the Mark Hamill scenario, really. And you know, he's had huge success as Spider-Man as the skitterish kid. You know, he's really got to between you know, playing Nathan Drake and then the character in this. Yeah, absolutely, got to really prove that you're a flexible actor.
Next, we have Hawkeye is gearing up for production soon, as Jeremy Renner is he's starting to train for it.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be something probably by the end of the year, I would say.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
because it hasn't been talked about a great deal.
No, it hasn't. No.
In the media. I mean, it was sort of all the focuses on Loki and WandaVision. I mean, we knew these other things were coming, but they sort of got pushed to the back. So, but it's good to see that's still going ahead.
Next, we have From Toronto. The movie's called Jason
The Man
Statham
from
has dropped out.
Man from Toronto. Yeah, it was an action comedy. Yeah, Statham was lined up.
Star alongside Kevin Hart. He dropped out about 4 weeks away from filming.
Yes, so
Due
that's
to Statham wanted the film to be R, but Sony wanted it PG-13.
yeah.
So he dropped out.
Yep. Interesting.
Yeah. Next, Scott Derrickson is going to direct Bermuda, with Chris Evans most likely being the lead. An interesting thing about this is that Sam Raimi was originally attached to direct this, and Sam Raimi dropped out. Scott Derrickson was originally
And now he's going to
Doctor
Doctor
Strange too, and Sam
Yeah.
Raimi is most likely going to
Doing
That's-
swapsies.
That's
Yeah.
kind of funny.
But I mean, and they're doing a script rewrite because he's a writer that Scott Derrickson works with. He co-wrote Doctor Strange 1 and 2 with, and they're doing a rewrite for this. So he's on board as well.
Nice.
Taika Waititi is set to write and direct 2 original animated series for Netflix based off Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. One is
Yeah.
based on that, the other will be a whole new take on the Oompa Loompas.
Yeah, well, because if you recall, we've spoken in the past that Netflix had acquired the rights to Roald Dahl, and we're going to convert
Yeah.
all of his stuff into sort of stuff for the network, which was fantastic because some of it's never been done. So obviously this is sort of the start of that, and I'm guessing they're going to get other directors to come in and do other stories. I would assume.
Maybe.
Keen to see the twits because that's never been turned into anything. It's one of my favourite stories of his.
Oh man, the twits! I forgot
Yeah.
that story even existed.
How good is that story? You know, where he makes everything get bigger and bigger, and so they feel smaller and smaller, and all that sort of shit. So good, and they eat birds, and
Heard of it.
it's because you are
It's
twit,
really
Ethan.
good.
I am not a pregnant fish, thank you.
Problem fish. All right, I'm beached ass, bro. All right, moving on.
Alright, our last 2 big ones, and there's the Last of Us series in the works at HBO from
Lot of people
Chernobyl
hyped.
co-creator Craig
Holy
Mazin and
shit.
Neil Druckmann, who is the original writer and creator of the game.
Just adding to that too, I saw an article today that mentioned that they weren't going to shy away from the lead character being a lesbian either.
Nope. That's
Yeah,
a big
because
part of it.
Oh really?
yeah, well,
Yeah.
because I don't know why it's even an issue, but I mean, she's gay in the game.
I think it's because she's like 15. And
Yeah,
I think
perhaps.
So, it should be good. And then there's obviously people who, who should play Joel, who should play Ellie. And I said to Lucas, well, why don't you just get Hugh Jackman for Joel and get Daphne Keane, who played X-23 in Logan, and there you go.
Or
You got
just
Logan
get,
2.0.
just get the actress that plays her and just de-age her for the role, right?
I mean, he could.
Ashley
For all the
Johnson.
Yeah.
No way. Would never work. You need to kidnap Helen Page from 10 years ago.
Yeah, let's get Helen Page and just de-age her.
Yeah.
And lastly, Christian Bale is most likely playing the villain in Thor: Love and Thunder. They had the Westworld Season 3 premiere last week on the weekend, and Tessa Thompson kind of let slip that he was playing the villain.
I saw a meme the other day. Christian Bale gains 4,000 pounds for the role of a worm in the Dune remake. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about this. Christian Bale, for me, he's a real hit and miss kind of actor. Like some of the stuff I've seen him in has been really, really good. You know, I think he was great in Nolan's Batman. And then some of the other stuff he's done is terrible, like Terminator, that he was in, Terminator 4 or whatever.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. Like I liked him as Batman.
Yeah.
I think this is going to depend very much on who he's going to play. And also, as we record this too, apparently there's going to be some massive news dropping tomorrow. So for all we know, we could get the official announcement of who he's playing.
So there's a bunch of other casting details or something else.
We could get other casting. We could get multiple trailers. We could get, tomorrow right now, we could be getting anything.
Well, actually, and just quickly, because I didn't want to discuss it at all, but Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein has been found guilty of rape in trial. And that's that.
What's some light and fluffy news to end on?
Yeah, right. Okay, so that's the news and the trailers for the fortnight. Let's quickly shift on over to some spoiler-free reviews, because we've all caught up with a bunch of stuff since the last fortnight. First came off the rank, Jumanji: The Next Level.
Yeah, Jumanji was good.
Yeah, I kind of thought they would run out of steam, and like as often happens with you get to that next film, and considering the turnaround time in this thing was astronomically fast.
Oh yeah,
astronomically fast.
I kind of can't believe that. Like, they did not take a lot of time between the end of filming, post-production, and getting this out, and I was kind of worried about how it would look.
To be fair, I think and it's fine. I think they've reused some assets. So I mean, like the hippo, the snake, and that's fine. But yeah.
Okay, so the filming started on January 21st last year and ended on May 11th, and the movie was out in December.
They must have already had a script.
Yeah, and they probably would have already had done a bunch of previs work probably as well.
Mm.
Yeah, actually, that's very true too. We don't know how much stuff could have been done pre-production.
Yeah.
A lot of that movie was CGI. So either they could have been doing it before the movie, or while the movie was being filmed, they could have been working on that stuff. It was very CGI heavy. So again, yeah, for all we know, this could have all been done before they even put, hard drives in cameras.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good, and if you haven't seen it, make sure I think it's out of the cinemas now, you'll have to wait for a home release, but definitely, if you were in doubt, don't be. It was really good. Won't spoil it. Neat little cameo at the end, which I hope you guys spotted.
Yes.
Yep, cool. But I gotta say, I really like the acting. I like the fact that, because it was different, the lead four were now having different people controlling them, quote unquote. So it was really neat to see how they were, acting differently. I really liked I don't know her name. Who was the Oriental lady?
Awkwafina.
Awkwafina,
yeah, amazing. Like, she did such a good Danny DeVito,
dude. She's so funny,
and she nailed the young fella too. Like, she really played that kind of nervous teen boy, and then when she switched to Danny, like, so good.
We'll get ready to see her in Shang-Chi.
Yeah, she's in Shang-Chi.
Yeah, excellent. The second season of Altered Carbon hit Netflix last week. I'm about halfway through, I think. How'd you guys go with that?
I didn't finish season 1, so...
I'm about 2/3 of the way through, and holy shit.
It's...
I was about to say, there's one... So, like, I've just been watching it solo. I haven't been watching it with my girlfriend. I actually went and showed her the scene from The Circle, which Toby might know if he's gotten to that part yet.
Yeah.
Whole scene at The Circle, and she was like sitting there with her mouth wide open being like, holy shit, like, the show is that good. Like, it's just the way that whole action scene was shot was just incredible. They've done behind the scenes stuff as well. They've uploaded that to YouTube showing you how they did it all, but the story in this, in my opinion, in like 5 episodes was way better than the first season, and I thought the first season was probably the best season of television from start to finish I've probably ever seen.
Come on, The Boys, and a bunch of other things. Where are you going? You just think everything's the best.
No. I was genuinely like wrapped up in everything that was happening.
Wow.
Like,
I thought season 1 was average, and this one is better than average, but it's still not something not in terms of science fiction that I'm ultra excited about. It's okay. It's filler TV for me. It's filler TV.
Nah, for me, man, this is crazy good. Like,
Yeah. Well, there you
loving
go.
it.
Different opinions. I guess we'll see what other people think. But anyway, moving on. I think that's everything that I've got on my list that you guys have seen, or either you may have some other stuff that you've seen I haven't. I've also caught Ip Man 4 with Donnie Yen. Not as good as the first 3, but still good. Admittedly, Donnie's now in his mid-50s, so I'm expecting him to slow down somewhere soon, although I still wouldn't give the man a hard time. There's still plenty of rapid punching, which was nice to see. I've also watched Guns Akimbo, which I know you guys haven't, but it was everything I expected it to be. I kind of thought it was going to be either really good or really shit, and I thought it was really good. It's interesting to see it sort of getting some really negative reviews on Metacritic. To me, if you enjoy the Crank movies with Stratham, you're going to like Guns Akimbo. It's that same ridiculous comedy, over-the-top action, just doesn't stop. Conversely, if you don't like those sort of films, then you probably won't like this. But it was a really neat role to see Daniel Radcliffe in as well. Anyway, and the other one I've seen that you gentlemen won't have seen was Colour Out of Space, based on H.P. Lovecraft's story, starring Nicolas Cage, a few other people.
I'm really hyped to see that. I can't wait.
I thought it was
really good.
I thought it would be a dog film. Like, I really didn't have many high hopes for it. And look, there's some really weak acting in spots that make me feel like this is like, a straight to DVD sort of release. But then at other times there's some really good CG and there's some good acting moments. So a little bit of a mixed bag. Overall, I enjoyed it.
How many Nick Cages would you give it?
Well, I'm not a big fan of Nick Cage predominantly, but he's well suited to this role and this kind of film. If you like seeing Nick Cage play someone that's going out of their fucking mind, then welcome to Colour Out of Space.
That was actually going to be my next question. How batshit does he go?
Yeah, pretty batshit, but most of them do, and you would too if you went through what they went through.
Hell yeah. I'm really
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch that, actually. I'm really excited to watch that.
Yeah, not bad at all. That's sort of what I caught up with most recently. I've also started watching the American version of What We Do in the Shadows, which surprised me because I thought it would be fairly average, and it's not. It's quite good, and I'm really enjoying that. But I think that's about it for me. You guys caught anything recently in the last 2 weeks that I haven't mentioned?
Yep.
What have you got?
Invisible Man.
Of course. Was it everything you dreamed and hoped it would be?
Almost.
Okay.
Almost.
Because I believe of the success of it, the director's talking about jumping into another sort of old black and white.
He's made a couple of things about what he would do if he was to do a Dracula film.
Yeah, that was what I saw. But yeah, okay, so Invisible
I can't
Man.
say much without
spoilers, but out of
spoiling.
10 or out of 5, whatever you want to give it, what would you score it as?
I would give it probably about a 9.5 out of 10.
So still damn good, but obviously there was just one or two little things that weren't quite what you were hoping for. Okay.
Yeah. It had a lot that I was hoping for, and then it had just a couple of things that I wasn't hoping. Well, that I wasn't.
Is there? And this is not really a spoiler, I don't think. Is there any kind of connection to an expanded universe?
No, and that's the one thing I didn't like.
Okay, yeah, because I know Mummy was originally going to kick off this whole
Dark universe.
I just wondered if they were going to still try and keep that afloat or not.
Not with this one, no.
Okay, but it doesn't mean.
Yeah, and that's the only thing that I didn't like about it was that.
Right, so it lost 0.5 for not referencing that horrible Tom Cruise movie.
Well, not necessarily referencing that horrible Tom Cruise movie, but just not being a part of that world.
Right. Did you catch anything?
Again, I can't say much of that.
Yeah, that's fair. Did you catch anything that we haven't mentioned, Lucas?
Well, basically, so like right now, I'm kind of like obsessed with Altered Carbon. I finally caught Birds of Prey.
Yes. What did you think?
Really, really enjoyed it. Way more than I thought I would.
Yeah, it's really good.
It actually wasn't the movie I was going to be expecting it to be, but it was funny because I'm watching it and I'm like, you hear like the first fuck, and I'm like, oh shit, okay, that didn't take long. And then Ewan McGregor comes on screen, and I think he was like every second word for the first like 3 sentences was just fuck, and I'm like, oh okay, that's all right, that's what they're doing. Like they're really going into the hard R.
Fair enough.
But
not hard enough to see Batman's dick.
No, definitely not.
They're gonna save that for the next Batman film.
But no, I really enjoyed it. There were some things I didn't like. I didn't like the way they handled Zaz. Zaz is such a good fucking character that I can't believe they used him in this the way that they did.
And this is probably real left field, way out there, but question.
Yep.
Obviously, in the DC comic books at the moment, Joker's got himself a new girlfriend, and it's exploding at the moment with Harley versus Punchline. Is there any kind of hint or reference in the movie that the Joker might have a new woman in his life, or is that too spoilery? Or
no, Joker is straight up isn't
in there at all. But I just wondered if she mentioned, the bum's got a new girl or something like that, or I just wondered if they kind of referenced what might have been happening in the comics.
No, it's just that Harley broke up with the Joker and was being a big, strong, independent woman by crying, and then you find out the Joker actually broke it off with her. And then that's kind of like literally that's all they say about the Joker.
Right, okay.
You do get like one scene where he's like tattooing a guy and she's kind of sitting there and she's laughing and stuff, but it's all from the back. But that's pretty much it. Like everything else from there, it's Harley everything. Like no Joker.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very minimal on anything to really do with the Joker. They wanted to establish Harley as her own character and as her own being.
Although I did see some of those set shots, and the stand-in is definitely designed to be Leto's Joker in those scenes.
100%.
Yeah, he's not trying to be Phoenix's Joker, for instance.
No. He very much looked like the sweet emo damaged boy.
Yeah, he had the same tattoos and everything on the set photo I saw.
You only see him from the back.
Yes, but there was an article talking about the chap that did it, and they did put some of the tattoos on him as well.
Not that they needed to. You didn't even get
Not
to see
that they needed to, I guess. Maybe he was just going full Leto, and he was just getting...
Yeah.
Alright, so...
Even the stand-in was going method.
Right. Let's, before we jump into our topic of conversation...
Two more that I didn't get to touch on. But
Sorry.
we'll talk very quick. Surprisingly, 9 out of 10 for Sonic. Holy shit, that was good.
Right. Yeah, to be taken with a grain of salt, remember that Lucas loves everything, people.
No, I was expecting it to be bad. I had this really low expectation walking in that this is not...
I have heard from others that it was better than they expected, but still not the greatest thing ever.
It was good. Like, it was definitely really good.
I also had a lot of people going to see it, rubbing their hands together, hoping to see just a fucking train wreck of a film, and actually being disappointed.
Yeah. So the reason I was disappointed is that it wasn't bad. Like, if that's the one takeaway I have to have, but I was upset that it was a good movie because everything leading into it didn't look good. Fucking Jim Carrey as Robotnik was awesome. Way better than I expected him to be. Again, that was another one where I'm like, he's going to ham this up and it's going to be bad. But he played it really smart. Like, I can't really talk about it, but like, he was really good. But the other one fully deserves all the credit that it gets. Parasite. Holy shit.
Oh yeah, Parasite was good.
That was excellent. I watched it with Ethan, and I was like kind of traumatized by the end of it. Like it'll fuck you up. Very good. Very, very, very good.
All right. Well, let's shuffle on. Before we get to the topic of conversation, we've got. I just want to quickly touch on the poll I put up on the Big Sport Network Facebook page, where I asked in regards to 80s remakes, reboots, and sequels, where are you? And people could vote either not okay, mostly not, mostly okay, or very okay. And the results from that came back with 14 people said mostly okay, 8 people said mostly not okay, 3 people said very okay, and 2 said not okay. So the mostly okays have it, followed by, mostly not, very okay, and then not okay. So that was kind of interesting. It was good to see, and there was some discussion on that too, which was kind of cool. And I think, by and large, most people sort of agreed with what we were saying, that, as long as it's done well, and it's this and that, not too iconic. So, neat. Yeah. Always good to get some discussion going.
I wasn't here for that last week, but just to quickly throw my 2 cents in. Certain movies, never remake them. I'm talking specifically Goonies. If they were going to do a sequel and bring them all back, then I'm kind of fine with it. But yeah, for the most part, like, I'm kind of okay with it as long as it's done well and they kind of Easter egg some stuff from the original films. But apart from that, yeah, just it's the one just I don't want anyone to touch.
Yeah. All right, so let's quickly move into, because we are running low on time, the topic of conversation this fortnight, and that is retconning sequels. So obviously the most recent example of this would be Terminator Dark Fate, which ignored everything after Terminator 2. But believe it or not, it's not exactly exclusively a new thing. It's been on for a little while now, and I've got a brief list here, and there's certainly more than these movies on this list, but here's some of the just iconic ones, and that is the Superman Returns, which ignored Superman 3 and 4. So it was Bryan Singer was sort of, even though we didn't have Christopher Reeve, we had Brandon Routh. It was the same character, it was the same Superman, and it was meant to be a sequel to Superman 3. Jaws the Revenge, which ignored Jaws 3D, which probably makes sense why you would do that. We have Halloween H2O 20 years later, which ignored pretty much everything after Halloween 2, which, not surprisingly, was the more recent Halloween, ignored Halloween H2O as well. Isn't that funny? So there's a double retcon. You had Halloween H2O, which ignored everything after Halloween 2, and then you had the recent Halloween, which ignored everything after the first one.
Yep.
Just retcons out the asses. American Reunion, which was it ignored the American Pie Presents series of spin-offs, etc., etc. I don't think anybody watched that. Highlander 3, The Sorcerer, which ignored Highlander 2. Not just beyond that, I think everybody should ignore Highlander 2. Not just Highlander 3, everyone should ignore Highlander 2. That was just a terrible, terrible mistake. Exorcist 3 ignored Exorcist 2, The Heretic. Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors. Well, and most of them after that did ignore Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Dead, because it changed how Freddy sort of operated, and so they got rid of that. Universal Soldier: The Return dumped a whole bunch of other Universal Soldier films, which is rightly so. And then Rocky Balboa ignored Rocky 5, because at the end of Rocky 5 he was brain damaged and all this sort of shit, and it just sort of got quietly forgotten.
They also kind of retconned Rocky 4 by having, before Apollo died, saying that he was having an affair. While, like, even though the affair was never explicitly mentioned in the original films, it could have happened. It could not have happened, but, like, they straight up were like, oh, for this story to work, we need to have him have an affair. So, like, that's kind of where the retcon comes in. Yeah. But, yeah, it's never explicitly mentioned in those movies, like, because they don't delve into Apollo's personal life, so...
No. And then the last one on this list is Prometheus, which ignores Alien vs. Predator and Alien vs. Predator Requiem, which is fine, to be frank.
Probably for the best.
Which I mean, like, I don't know if you can class this, because they talk about in both of those movies how it's always covered up. So, like, some government's always covering the fight between Alien vs. Predators up. So
yeah, I feel like that's a good point. Like, yeah, the Alien vs. Predator things were covered up by the government, so would you call it a retcon?
Yes, you can, because it does change Wayland backstory, the company.
Oh, no, actually it does also retcon the alien's origin.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you look at...
It says the Predators made them and were using them as training dummies and shit
for
like that.
For thousands of years.
Oh,
if you go watch the latest Alien movie, you find out that Michael Fassbender made them and all that sort of shit.
Yeah, so there's some problems there, but yeah, that's fine. Look, I kind of feel that those AVP movies are in a separate, reality anyway, to be honest.
Well, I mean, that new Predator movie acknowledged it, but that Predator movie was shit, so it doesn't matter.
Right, okay. I haven't watched that. Yeah, I still haven't watched that.
Don't. It's fucking dog shit.
I watched Predators, which...
Predators was good.
Yeah, but I haven't watched...
Adrian Brody?
Yeah, that one was good. The new The Predator was just absolutely...
So the question is, how do you feel... We'll start with Lucas, because he's probably going to have a more lengthier answer. How do you feel about the idea of a movie sequel retconning some of, or all of, well, not all of, but most of what comes before?
Yeah, I'm hit and miss on it. As long as it serves the story. For example, probably the most famous retcon is Anakin Skywalker. in that Anakin Skywalker was killed by Darth Vader. Oh no, it was all a lie by Ben Kenobi. Like, it never was going to be a lie. Like, they just decided to change it to make it more impactful later. That retcon served the story, and I'm okay with it. But like, cutting out an entire film just because, hey, we don't want to use anything from that, to me is just dumb. Just lean into it, ride around it. Like, it's kind of hard to pretend a movie doesn't exist sometimes. Like, prime example, I haven't seen Dark Fate yet, so I don't know how directly it impacts everything, but with Genesis, they essentially rebooted, well, not rebooted, they like did a soft reboot of the universe. So they could have totally learned Dark Fate into both what happened at the end of Genesis, but then also continued what they wanted to from Terminator 2 and just said, hey, this is the new universe now.
Yeah, I mean, Genesis wasn't a retcon in that it just, in so much that it didn't ignore the films, it gave a reason as to why things had changed, because time travel in this instance. So that was kind of clever for that film, because they didn't need to just go, hey, we're going to ignore these films. It's like, we are ignoring these films, but there's a reason why, rather than just the director or the producer has said, oh, we're ignoring these films now. I think that was probably a better way of dealing with it.
I have a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, for my take on it is, if they retcon movies, sure. Because most of the time they retcon it to fit the story they want to tell and all that sort of thing, right? So I feel like one of the best ways to retcon 3 movies is if you look at X-Men Days of Future Past.
Yes.
That's a perfect way to retcon 3, 4, 5 movies that have been before it. That pretty much takes out fucking X-Men Origins Wolverine that Lucas is talking about as well, because of what they did in that. That's a way to completely retcon 4 or 5 movies you've had before it and move them all into a completely different direction. But that also allows the general audience to understand why, when something else happens, they're like, oh, this happened in another movie. Why is this different? This just,
Yeah. Although again, time travel, I guess that's the convenient out, isn't it? But how do you feel? How do you feel though? How do you feel about directors and producers that just go, please ignore these 3 films? Like, with no in-story explanation at all, just please ignore these 3 movies.
I'm fine with it largely.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say I'm fine with it largely.
Okay.
I don't think I've seen that many movies where things have been retconned like that, so I can't reflect on something like that. Really,
you're not brushed up with your Superman and Jaws.
I've never seen those movies. I've seen Jaws probably like a handful of times when I was a kid, and it made me scared to go in my backyard pool. So,
That's awesome. Yeah. How old were you?
Oh, I was probably like 8 or 9 when I had that.
And you thought you were going to have a shark in your pool?
I've also never been a fan of like water in general. So
right, okay. Well, so Lucas, in regard, I mean, outside of sort of clever plot twists, how do you feel about a producer or a director, not providing any kind of plot story-like device at all, just going, bam, delete that shit, just hitting the ban hammer? How do you feel about that?
If it serves the plot.
If it serves the plot.
If the retcon is there to make the plot better, then I'm okay with it. If it's there just because they want to get rid of stuff and they just want to be like, okay, cool, we didn't like this in the last movie, so we're going to retcon that. That's dumb. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Like, it just needs to make what came before it better.
I think a lot of the time too, and just putting Terminator aside for a second, I think a lot of the time we see these retcons is especially in the case of Halloween, I think is a really good example, where you have the original creator who comes in with an idea and it's successful, and then what happens is you just get a slew of direct-to-DVD sequels of much crappier quality. And then, 20, 30 years later, the original creators then says, you know what, I'm going to come back and do another movie. I'm going to do the sequel the way I would do it. And to do that, I have to ignore this shovelware that you kind of put out over that time period. If you know what I mean. I think in that instance, I really can't complain too much. I mean, another example would be, for instance, and I know they've been talking about this for a while, You know, the Hellraiser series, another classic example. It always seems to be the horror films that go into like part 14, right? You know, if
horror films get retcon all the time.
You know, if Clive Barker was to say, hey, you know, let's go do the next Hellraiser film. Let's get these people back. Let's do this, and we're going to ignore these 8 films or something. Again, I wouldn't have a problem with that because I think I'm genuinely keen to see the original creator, you know, work that IP again. And if that means that he has to or she has to destroy, you know, 8 films that were already terrible. I think the biggest problem is because Dark Fate, and I'm not going to touch spoilers here, but because it's, you know, while some of these films were questionable quality, a number of them were quite good, and you're sort of destroying good films or arguably good films for the sake of that original. It's not like these were it's not like Terminator. You know, I don't know, you guys weren't big fans of Salvation and Genesis, but I mean, it's not like Terminator 3 was a direct-to-DVD. It wasn't particularly good, but it was still Arnold and it was still Terminator. You know what I mean? And I think that's perhaps where some people have gotten upset with the whole kind of, you know, retconning sequels.
Yeah.
I mean, having said that, look, if Blomkamp's Alien 5 had gone ahead and he was going to pick up with, you know, Hicks and Newt after Aliens, I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. Like, in the slightest. So, I guess it just comes back to... And I think, too, like, if Cameron had done... Well, Cameron barely touched Dark Fate, to be honest. But if Cameron had actually come on and directed and produced Dark Fate and gave it all the love and attention it deserved, and created a film that, in my opinion, wasn't a steaming pile of shit, I suppose there wouldn't have been such an uproar either. People would have been like, yes, you know, this is a good thing. He's fixed it. Considering that, you know, the lack of love that Salvation and Genesis got. Yeah. It's definitely an interesting subject, and I think it's going to create some really divided opinions, I suspect. I think you're going to have some people that are just going to say, you know what, no matter what, you should just, like Lucas says, lean into it, push through it, come up with plausible, in-canon sort of explanations as for why you're doing this thing. And then you're going to get other people that just, you know, sure, the producer or director says, cut those 3 films, but the next film's good, then so be it. I think the trap is this: if we keep doing this shit, though, and we keep getting shit. Like, can you imagine if they go, okay, now we're going to release Terminator, I don't know, Frosty Bits, and we're going to retcon these films? Can you imagine the uproar?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think, too, Terminator's pretty much done its dash. I think...
Yeah, I don't think there'll be any more.
They've fucked that franchise into the ground. They've literally fucked that franchise into the ground.
Completely.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's a question then, probably the final one. Lucas, think of a series that you enjoy, that started off strong and then perhaps went downhill and you sort of went, oh, you know, this last movie not so good. Think of a series where you would be happy for an original creator to come back and sort of retcon some of those films. Bit of a tough one, I suppose, off the top of your head. What series of films would that be?
Saw.
So, okay, yeah,
that's not even okay. So the thing with Saw is that, like, I have the very weird opinion that the first one is excellent, the second one sucked, the third one sucked a little less, the fourth one sucked a little less, the fifth one sucked a little less, 6 sucked a little less, and 7 was great. But I just feel that, like, Lee Winnell and James Wan should have been behind the whole thing. Like, that first film was excellent.
Absolutely.
I would love to have seen a direct sequel with them at the helm, and not what Darren Lynn Bousman did when he came back and basically was like, hey, Hostel did really well, let's make a torture porn version of Saw. So, and as well, like, seeing like stuff like The Conjuring and all the stuff that they've been able to do since Saw, and how much quality has been maintained throughout their work, I would love to have seen a direct sequel to Saw with them at the helm. Unfortunately, we'll never get it, but in saying that, though, I'm really intrigued to see what Chris Rock's going to do with Spiral. Like, I'm not mad that we're never going to see that, but like, at the same time, I would love to see what that would have looked like.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Ethan? If you could pick a series that again has multiple parts, and they said, "Hey, look, we're going to bring out a sequel that ignores X amount of films in this series," what would that series be?
The Mummy. Ignore number 3. Put Rachel Weisz back in the 3rd one.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I'd back that.
It's the only one I can think off the top of my head that I'd actually want is to fucking get rid of Maria Bello as fucking Evie and redo a 3rd movie with Rachel Weisz and all the rest of them back.
Yeah.
Give me a new Mummy movie with fucking Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz and go like a grown-up son and they're like, oh, let's go on one last archaeology trip. Give me that.
Give me anything with Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
Just bring him back. Make him cool again.
I'll be happy with that.
And I'm going to be boring and just say, because I am such a fan of the original films, I would still love to see that Blomkamp Alien 5. I'd love to see that
would be great. I love Blomkamp.
Yeah, I'd love to see that come back on track. It's not going to happen, but that would be really good. Get the original cast while they're still alive and kicking, and do that story arc. Do Ellen Ripley and Hicks and Newt, going back to Earth and dealing with the problem there. Because apart from that sort of, not including the Prometheus films and all that sort of stuff, but in terms of the original Alien films, apart from the editor's cut or the director's cut of Alien 4, you never go to Earth. You never go to Earth in the Alien film, so to have a sort of a film set on Earth with it all going to shit would be kind of interesting. So, anyway, sadly won't happen. And we're running out of time, so we probably should leave that there. But I'm definitely going to throw this up on the Facebook page and just sort of see what sort of discussion we can get on that. I'm sure there's some series that we haven't thought of that our listeners will, that'll be really interesting. I imagine most of them are going to be horrors, because they're the ones that tend to go on for many, many parts. But what have we got coming in the next fortnight, Ethan, if I can squeeze you on that front?
We've got Bloodshot this week, The Hunters this week, and then A Quiet Place 2 next week.
Didn't The Hunters already come out on Amazon?
The Hunt?
Oh, The
no,
Hunt. Sorry,
no,
you
The
said
Hunt,
Hunters. And I was thinking of the Nazi
The
killers. Okay, yeah, so you got The Hunt,
yeah.
which is that film that was postponed from...
Yeah.
Yep. And then we've got Bloodshot. I'm looking forward to. I'm actually thinking I may get down to the cinema to see that.
Oh, and the My Hero Academia movie's out this week, or next week as well, as another one. So,
Right.
yeah.
So a
Let's
bit of
get
stuff.
for Quiet
cinema.
Place.
Yeah, Quiet Place next week.
Part 2. Live next to... Quiet Place 2. Living next to the waterfall.
Living quieter.
Living quieter. A quieter place. Why isn't it called A Quieter Place? That would have made more
And then
sense.
the final third film is the quietest place.
Yeah. Yeah. Quite Hard 3. Quite Harder. Quiet Place 3. The quietest place. Anyway, that's ridiculous. And what's coming on streaming services, mate? Have you got a list or stuff?
No, I looked before and there wasn't anything big.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay.
The next,
So that gives us a fortnight to catch up on all of this shit that we're falling behind on.
I think the next big thing coming out is Ozark season 3.
Right.
Then that's the end of the month. So
Well, plus there was the trailers for those international stuff that I listed too.
Yeah.
Some of that's coming on
those as
Netflix
well,
and
yeah.
Amazon as well, so it's not like there's nothing coming. If you're one of these people that has been religiously watching TV and caught up, you're going to have... Oh, actually, no, isn't Greyhound in the next fortnight as well at the cinemas?
Oh, it might be.
no,
Tom
didn't
Hanks?
the trailer for that just dropped though, didn't it?
Oh, I thought it was March. Could be wrong. But you're going to have... I think you've got Tales from the Loop on Amazon, and I'm pretty sure you're going to have Blood Ride on Netflix. Yeah, so there's a bit of stuff if you've watched everything. You're going to have a few things to keep you company.
Greyhound's out in May.
May, my apologies, May, March, there you go. So, yeah. Alright, well, but for us here at the podcast at least, it's probably a fortnight to catch up on the abundance of stuff that we haven't had a chance to catch up with yet. So much out there at the moment. You guys need to watch Guns Akimbo.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah,
I think you'll like
To
it.
go over.
I think you'll both really like it. So, alright then, well, we probably better wrap this podcast up there. We'll be back next fortnight, all going well, assuming that there's plenty of news and trailers and what have you. And of course, thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. Make this podcast possible. Big help. Helps keep this SoundCloud account live and kicking. And thank you to everybody for listening. Hopefully we'll catch you all next fortnight.